Picture this: a quaint Midwestern town nestled in the heart of Ohio in the spring of 1960. It is a town where neighbors know each other by name. Children play in the streets until the sun dips below the horizon, and the promise of a better tomorrow lingers in the air like the scent of freshly cut grass. Now, here's where things get interesting. In this idyllic setting, on May 21, 1960, Lionel and Joyce Dahmer welcomed their firstborn, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, into the world. Lionel Herbert Dahmer, a chemist, and Joyce Annette Flint, a teletype machine instructor, were the proud parents of Jeffrey. Lionel, at 28, possessed a brilliant mind, yet his career demanded long hours, leaving Joyce to manage the household and care for young Jeffrey. The family resided in a modest home in West Allis, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee, where the streets were lined with maple trees, and a sense of community wafted through the air like the smoke from chimneys on a chilly evening. Jeffrey's early years were marked by a sense of isolation. With his parents occupied with their respective careers, Jeffrey often found himself seeking solace in solitary activities. His brother David, born 2 years later, provided some companionship, but the age gap led to a disconnect between the siblings. Can you imagine growing up like this? A child yearning for connection in the midst of a bustling household where loneliness lingered like a shadow. The Dahmer family's economic situation was stable, providing young Jeffrey with the comforts of a typical middle-class upbringing. However, beneath the veneer of normalcy, there were cracks in the facade. Jeffrey's mother, Joyce, suffered from depression and was prone to volatile emotional outbursts, creating an atmosphere of unpredictability within the household. As Jeffrey's early education began, attending elementary school at the nearby Riverview School, his teachers noted his quiet demeanor and introverted nature. But what really stands out is his penchant for collecting roadkill and dismembering the remains, a harbinger of the darkness that lurked within him. This macabre fascination hinted at a mind that operated on a different wavelength, one that reveled in the morbid and the grotesque. Jeffrey's first memories were tinged with a sense of detachment from the world around him. While other children frolicked in the sun-dappled fields, Jeffrey found solace in solitude, his young mind already veering down a path that would lead to unspeakable acts in the years to come. What was going through this child's mind as he explored the boundaries of life and death in his backyard? A curious observer of the cycle of decay and renewal. In the backdrop of the early 1960s, a time of social upheaval and shifting norms, Jeffrey Dahmer's formative years unfolded against a backdrop of changing landscapes. The societal expectations of masculinity, the pressures of conformity, and the tumult of the era seeped into the fabric of his being, shaping his psyche in ways that would only become apparent with the passage of time. As we delve into the enigmatic origins of one of the most notorious figures in criminal history, we are confronted with a web of complexities that defy easy explanations. The story begins with a child on the cusp of discovery, navigating the labyrinth of his own mind, teetering on the edge of darkness. It all started when Jeffrey Dahmer took his first breath, unaware of the path that lay ahead. A path fraught with unspeakable horrors and unfathomable tragedies. Join me as we unravel the mysteries of his early years, peeling back the layers of innocence to reveal the seeds of darkness that took root in the soul of a young boy named Jeffrey Dahmer. As we delve deeper into the enigmatic life of Jeffrey Dahmer, we turn our focus to his formative teenage years and early adulthood, a period marked by turmoil, isolation, and the gradual descent into darkness. Fast forward to the mid-1970s, bright-eyed and introverted, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer navigated the tumultuous years of adolescence. Born on May 21, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, young Dahmer showed early signs of detachment and peculiar behavior that would foreshadow the chilling path he would eventually tread. Growing up in a middle-class household, Jeffrey was described as a shy and reserved child, often retreating into his solitary world. However, the teenage years brought a noticeable shift in his demeanor. Struggling to fit in at Revere High School, Dahmer found solace in macabre interests, dabbling in dissecting animals and harboring dark fantasies. These unsettling inclinations set him apart from his peers, creating a palpable sense of alienation that would follow him into adulthood. As the years passed, Dahmer's inner turmoil intensified, manifesting in a series of troubling incidents. In his late teens, he committed his first known crime, engaging in acts of indecent exposure. This marked the beginning of a pattern of deviant behavior that would culminate in unspeakable atrocities. Despite these early warning signs, Dahmer's aberrant actions went largely unnoticed, overshadowed by a facade of normalcy that he expertly maintained. Following high school, Dahmer's life took a turbulent turn as he grappled with shifting dynamics in his personal and professional life. Securing his first job at a local sandwich shop, he struggled to integrate into the workforce, plagued by social ineptitude and inner turmoil. His co-workers described him as eccentric and distant, a harbinger of the darkness lurking beneath his unassuming facade. The realm of romantic relationships proved equally tumultuous for Dahmer. Despite his longing for connection, his interactions with others were marred by an undercurrent of detachment and suppressed violence. His early attempts at intimacy ended in failure, further fueling his sense of isolation and inadequacy. As Dahmer ventured into early adulthood, his living situations mirrored the chaos within. Moving between various residences, including a brief stint in Ohio, he grappled with financial instability and an overwhelming sense of displacement. These transient living arrangements provided fertile ground for his sinister impulses to take root, hidden from the prying eyes of society. Something changed during this period, a gradual erosion of inhibitions that would eventually lead Dahmer down a path of unimaginable horror. His descent into depravity was marked by a series of escalating acts, each more heinous than the last. The seeds of darkness sown in his teenage years blossomed into a full-fledged obsession with control and domination, setting the stage for the atrocities that would later shock the world. As we unravel the intricacies of Jeffrey Dahmer's teenage years and early adulthood, a chilling portrait emerges. Behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary young man lurked a monster in the making, shaped by a potent cocktail of isolation, deviant desires, and unchecked psychological turmoil. Join us as we delve deeper into the mind of one of history's most notorious serial killers, tracing the intricate web of events that culminated in a legacy of darkness and despair. As Jeffrey Dahmer entered his mid-20s, a period of profound darkness began to envelop his psyche. The world witnessed a metamorphosis within him, a transformation that would ultimately culminate in unspeakable acts of depravity and horror. By the time he turned 25, Dharma was already adrift in a sea of morbid fantasies and escalating urges that would lead him down a path of no return. Haunted by an insatiable thirst for dominance and control, Dharma's mental state deteriorated rapidly. The threads of his humanity seemed to fray, revealing a chilling void within. His living situation grew increasingly bizarre, with his apartment in Milwaukee becoming a chamber of unspeakable horrors. The stench of decay permeated the air, a grim testament to the unspeakable acts transpiring within those walls. Each passing day seemed to push Dharma closer to the edge of sanity. His desires, then once confined to twisted fantasies, began to demand realization in the physical realm. The darkness within him began to emerge like a festering wound, oozing with malevolence and malice. Something snapped inside him, a dam bursting forth with a torrent of pure, unadulterated evil. Psychiatric evaluations would later reveal the depth of Dharma's descent into darkness. Experts struggled to comprehend the depths of his depravity, the sheer magnitude of his transformation into a remorseless predator. The veneer of normalcy that he had so carefully crafted began to crack, revealing the true nature of the monster that lurked beneath. The transformation was complete when Dharma succumbed to his darkest desires, succumbing to the compulsion that had been building within him for years. It was a fateful night when the final trigger pushed him over the precipice into the realm of the unforgivable. This is where everything changed, where the first seeds of his reign of terror were sown. The circumstances that led to Dharma's first murder were shrouded in a miasma of desperation and despair. The victim, a young hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks, unwittingly stumbled into Dharma's twisted web. The darkness within Dharma consumed him, driving him to commit an act so heinous, so irreversibly wicked, that it would mark the beginning of a reign of terror that would span over a decade. The exact circumstances of that fateful night remain etched in the annals of infamy. The precise moment when Dharma crossed the threshold from a disturbed individual to an unrepentant killer is a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. The echoes of that night reverberate through history, a stark reminder of the monstrous potential that lies dormant within us all. As we delve deeper into the heart of darkness that consumed Jeffrey Dahmer, we are forced to confront the stark reality of evil in its purest form. The tale of his transformation into a killer is a cautionary one, a harrowing reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the horrors that lie dormant within. Join us as we unravel the twisted tapestry of Jeffrey Dahmer's descent into madness, exploring the depths of depravity that lurked within the soul of a man who would become one of history's most infamous monsters. As we delve further into the enigmatic psyche of Jeffrey Dahmer, a troubling portrait emerges of a man besieged by profound psychological turmoil. The psychological profile revealed a complex interplay of factors that contributed to his descent into depravity. Mental health experts noted that Dahmer's mind worked differently from the norm, with a penchant for disturbing thoughts and behaviors that set him apart from society. His deep-seated issues were not merely surface level. They ran far deeper, rooted in a troubled childhood and a fractured sense of self. The psychiatric evaluation showed a man plagued by intense feelings of isolation and alienation, leading him to seek solace in the most macabre of ways. Dahmer's escalating descent into darkness was not a mere fluke of fate, but a calculated progression of his disturbed psyche. One pivotal aspect of Dharma's psychological makeup was his severe loneliness, exacerbated by his inability to form meaningful connections with others. His craving for companionship was warped into a twisted desire to possess others, culminating in acts of unspeakable violence and depravity. Moreover, Dharma exhibited clear signs of a profound personality disorder, marked by a pronounced lack of empathy and a chilling detachment from the consequences of his actions. His manipulative tendencies and ability to compartmentalize his crimes showcased a chilling level of psychopathy that set him apart from the average individual. His thought processes were shrouded in a disturbing veil of delusions and obsessions, with fantasies of control and domination dominating his every action. The intricate web of twisted desires that guided his hand revealed a mind consumed by darkness with no glimmer of light to guide him back to sanity. Dharma's behavioral patterns painted a stark picture of a man teetering on the brink of madness, struggling to reconcile his inner demons with the facade of normalcy he presented to the outside world. The dichotomy between his public persona and his private horrors laid bare the depths of his deception and the extent of his fractured psyche. In the eyes of psychological experts, Dharma was a ticking time bomb of unresolved traumas and unchecked impulses. A volatile combination that ultimately led to his reign of terror. His descent into depravity was not a sudden plunge, but a gradual unraveling of a mind twisted by unseen forces. As we continue to unravel the psychological labyrinth of Jeffrey Dahmer, we come face to face with the chilling realization that evil can wear many masks, lurking just beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. The true horror lies not just in the acts themselves, but in the mind that conceived them. A dark and tortured landscape where light fears to tread. The first victim in a chronological sequence of horrors initiated by Jeffrey Dahmer was Stephen Hicks, a young man full of dreams and aspirations abruptly extinguished by a chance encounter with pure evil. Stephen, aged just 18, was a recent high school graduate with a passion for music and a desire to explore the world beyond his small Ohio town. Little did he know that his path would intersect with a malevolent force that would alter the course of his life forever. It began with a simple hitchhiking invitation from Dahmer on that fateful day in June 1978. The killer, then 18 himself, was cruising along a rural road when he spotted Stephen, vulnerable and unsuspecting. Dahmer, armed with a charisma that masked his sinister intentions, offered Stephen a ride. With disarming charm and calculated manipulation, Dahmer gained Stephen's trust, luring him into his vehicle. This marked the beginning of a descent into darkness for Stephen Hicks. Dahmer drove them to his childhood home in Bath, Ohio, where he coaxed Stephen inside under the guise of sharing some drinks and music. However, what awaited Stephen was a nightmare beyond comprehension. As the evening unfolded, Dahmer's facade crumbled, revealing the cold, calculated killer within. What they didn't know was that Stephen Hicks would become the first victim of Dahmer's insatiable urge to dominate, control, and possess. In a moment of chilling brutality, Dahmer bludgeoned Stephen to death with a dumbbell, ending the young man's life in a savage act of violence. The echoes of Stephen's final moments reverberated within the walls of that house, forever staining it with the spectre of unspeakable atrocities. What followed was a macabre ritual, as Dahmer dismembered Stephen's body, disposing of the remains in a shallow grave in the backyard. The once vibrant spirit of Stephen Hicks was reduced to mere pieces, callously discarded by a killer devoid of empathy or remorse. The evidence left behind told a harrowing tale of Stephen's tragic fate. Dahmer's meticulous savagery was reflected in the physical remnants of his heinous crime, a grotesque mosaic of a life snuffed out too soon. Stephen Hicks, a young man with dreams unfulfilled, became the unwitting catalyst for a series of horrors that would haunt Milwaukee for years to come. His memory serves as a stark reminder of the insidious nature of evil and the fragility of human life. As we delve deeper into the darkness that consumed Jeffrey Dahmer, the story of Stephen Hicks stands as a solemn prologue to a narrative steeped in blood, horror, and the unrelenting grip of a killer's depraved desires. But what happened next would change everything, plunging us into a harrowing journey through the depths of one man's descent into madness. This is where the story takes a dark turn, leading us down a path lined with unspeakable acts and unfathomable horrors. By the mid-1980s, Jeffrey Dahmer's dark desires had escalated, leading him to seek out new victims to satisfy his insatiable urges. It was during this period that he claimed the lives of his second and third known victims, Anthony Sears and Raymond Smith. Anthony Sears, a 26-year-old aspiring model and part-time sex worker, crossed paths with Dahmer in September 1989. Dahmer, always on the lookout for vulnerable individuals, spotted Sears standing at a bus stop. Seizing the opportunity, he approached Sears, offering him money to accompany him to his apartment under the guise of taking photographs. In Dahmer's lair, Sears soon realized the grim reality of his situation. Dahmer, now refining his modus operandi, strangled Sears after drugging him. Unlike his first victim, Dahmer aimed to keep Sears' skull as a trophy, a chilling precursor to his later atrocities. Dahmer meticulously dismembered Sears, retaining his head and genitals while disposing of the remaining remains. Raymond Smith, a 32-year-old male sex worker, met a similarly gruesome fate at Dahmer's hands in May 1990. Dahmer, honing his persuasive tactics, lured Smith with promises of money for posing nude. Smith, unaware of the danger lurking within Dahmer, accompanied him to his lair. Once inside, Dahmer enacted his sinister ritual. He drugged and strangled Smith before indulging in the depraved acts that had become his trademark. Dahmer's macabre transformation was evident as he experimented with different methods of body preservation, striving for a semblance of control over his victims in death. The crime scenes of Sears and Smith bore witness to Dahmer's escalating brutality. Evidence of their gruesome demises littered his apartment, a macabre gallery of his descent into madness. Body parts carefully stored alongside cooking utensils, a grotesque blend of the banal and the monstrous, spoke volumes of Dahmer's twisted psyche. With each victim, Dahmer refined his twisted craft, delving deeper into the darkest recesses of his desires. The once unassuming young man had metamorphosed into a remorseless predator, preying on the vulnerable with chilling precision. As the authorities began unraveling the horrors hidden within Dahmer's apartment, the full extent of his atrocities sent shockwaves through the nation. The lives of Anthony Sears and Raymond Smith, snuffed out by Dahmer's insatiable bloodlust, serve as a haunting reminder of the evil that lurks in the most unexpected of places. In the chilling annals of Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes, the tale of his fourth known victim, 25-year-old Anthony Sears, unfolds with macabre details that epitomize the depths of depravity one human can inflict upon another. Anthony Lee Sears, a young African-American man, lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and worked as a part-time janitor. Sears, by all accounts, was a private individual, described as kind-hearted and reserved by those who knew him. Little did he know that a chance encounter with Dahmer would seal his fate. In March 1991, Dahmer spotted Sears on the street and approached him with an offer to pose for photographs. Sears, unsuspecting of the danger lurking beneath Dahmer's facade, agreed to accompany him to his apartment. This interaction marked the beginning of a horrifying descent for Sears. Once inside Dahmer's lair, Sears became a captive to the sadistic desires of a serial killer in the making. Dahmer's modus operandi had evolved by this point, showing a disturbing escalation in his methods. Straying from his earlier impulsive killings, Dahmer now harbored twisted fantasies of creating a submissive sex slave, a living, breathing testament to his monstrous desires. The exact details of Sears' final moments are shrouded in horror. Dahmer drugged Sears, intending to render him unconscious before fulfilling his grotesque fantasies. However, Sears managed to briefly regain consciousness during the assault, triggering Dahmer's rage. In a frenzied panic to silence his victim, Dahmer strangled Sears to death. The crime scene that followed painted a gruesome picture of Dahmer's escalating brutality. Evidence suggested that Dahmer dismembered Sears' body, retaining certain parts as macabre trophies of his atrocities. The remnants of Sears' body were disposed of in a familiar ritualistic manner, with Dahmer disposing of flesh and bones in nearby landfills, trying to erase any trace of his unspeakable actions. Sears' tragic fate serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that lurked within Dahmer's twisted psyche. His unsuspecting nature, lured into a deadly trap by Dahmer's facade of harmlessness, underscores the chilling reality that monsters often walk among us in plain sight, their true natures camouflaged by ordinary facades. As we delved into the harrowing tale of Anthony Sears, the fourth victim in Dahmer's reign of terror, we are left to ponder the haunting question: how many more lives could have been spared if only the signs of Dahmer's monstrous urges had been recognized sooner? Join us in the next episode as we uncover more dark truths from the Jeffrey Dahmer case, revealing the depths of human depravity and the quest for justice in the face of unspeakable evil. In the dark annals of true crime history, there comes a defining moment in every notorious killer's story. This moment is etched in the public consciousness, a chilling tale that shocks the world and unravels a web of horror. For Jeffrey Dahmer, that moment arrived with the murder of Conorak Synthasophone. Conorak Synthasophone, a Laotian American teenager just 14 years old, was about to become a tragic figure in a narrative of unspeakable evil. The date was May 27th, 1991. A seemingly ordinary day in the quiet neighborhood of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Little did Conorak know that he was about to fall into the clutches of a predator in human form. Jeffrey Dahmer, the insidious killer lurking behind a facade of normalcy, had honed his twisted desires to a deadly precision. On that fateful day, Dahmer's gaze fell upon Conorak, a vulnerable young boy who would unknowingly walk into the heart of darkness. Dahmer, a master manipulator, approached Conorak with a sinister charm, weaving a web of deceit and false promises. Conorak, perhaps lured by Dahmer's facade of affability, followed him to his lair of horrors, apartment 213. What happened next would shatter the realms of decency and plunge Konarek into a nightmare beyond comprehension. Inside that apartment, Dharma's true monstrous nature was unleashed upon the innocent teenager. The method of murder employed by Dharma was as calculated as it was depraved. Stripped of all humanity, Konarek faced a torment unimaginable to most. Dharma's twisted desires manifested in unspeakable acts of violence, leaving a trail of unspeakable horror in his wake. The exact details of the unspeakable acts committed by Dharma on Konarek's fragile body serve as a harrowing testament to the depths of human depravity. As the sun set over Milwaukee that day, apartment 213 bore witness to a scene of unimaginable horror. Konarek's lifeless body lay mutilated, a grim tableau of Dharma's monstrous appetites. The evidence left behind painted a chilling portrait of a killer who had descended into the darkest recesses of the human soul. But the most chilling aspect of this heinous crime was yet to come. The killer had no idea that this time his deeds would not go unnoticed. What happened next would shock even the most hardened investigators and expose the true extent of Dharma's reign of terror. The case that changed everything was unfolding right before the eyes of law enforcement. The turning point came when the unspeakable horrors hidden within apartment 213 were finally brought to light. Everything unraveled after the truth about Dharma's monstrous deeds came to the fore, sending shockwaves through the world. As investigators combed through the grisly crime scene, the full extent of Dharma's atrocities was laid bare. The evidence meticulously collected would serve as a damning indictment of a man who had walked among us, a wolf in sheep's clothing. But that's not even the worst part. The horrors inflicted upon Konarek's synthesomphone were just a glimpse into the abyss that Dharma inhabited. The full weight of his crimes was yet to be fully realized. A dark chapter in the annals of true crime that would haunt us for years to come. As the sun set on that fateful day in 1991, the world stood aghast at the unimaginable evil that lurked in the heart of a seemingly ordinary man. Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes had finally been exposed. But at what cost? The shadows cast by his monstrous deeds would linger long after his capture, a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside within us all. After the heinous act of murder, Jeffrey Dahmer, the unassuming chocolate factory worker from Milwaukee, knew that he had to conceal his dark secret to continue his facade of normalcy. Despite the chilling reality of his actions, Dahmer's meticulous nature drove him to elaborate lengths in an attempt to cover up his crimes. With a cold, calculated demeanor, Dahmer first focused on erasing any trace of his victims. The putrid stench of death lingered in his apartment, a grim reminder of his deeds. To eliminate this damning evidence, he resorted to dissolving his victims' bodies in acid, a method he believed would eradicate any incriminating remains. Drums of acid bubbled away in his dwelling, a macabre brewing concoction that devoured flesh and bone alike, leaving behind no recognizable remnants of his victims. Despite Dahmer's efforts to rid his home of physical traces, the psychological toll of his crimes weighed heavily on him. Close acquaintances noted a shift in his demeanor, a growing detachment that set him apart from the jovial facade he once presented. His interactions with others became strained, his eyes betraying a haunted look that hinted at the darkness lurking within. In a twisted attempt to maintain a semblance of normalcy, Dahmer continued his routine activities, blending into the fabric of everyday life in Milwaukee. He engaged in casual conversations with neighbors, exchanged pleasantries with colleagues, all the while concealing the monstrous truth that lurked beneath his unassuming exterior. His ability to navigate social interactions with an air of normalcy baffled those around him, a chilling testament to his deceptive nature. As the days passed, Dahmer's movements grew increasingly erratic. The weight of his actions bore down on him, driving him to desperate measures. In a bid to dispose of evidence, he ventured into the darkness of night, carrying out grisly acts in secluded locations. The shadows offered him a veil of secrecy as he discarded remains in desolate areas, a chilling ritual that spoke volumes of his descent into madness. Despite his attempts to evade detection, Dahmer's facade began to crack under the weight of his crimes. The facade of normalcy he presented to the world faltered, revealing glimpses of the sinister truth that lay beneath. His interactions with others grew strained, his once charming persona giving way to a palpable sense of unease that unsettled those around him. In the aftermath of his crimes, Jeffrey Dahmer's attempts to cover up his heinous deeds proved futile in the face of mounting evidence. The acid-soaked remains, the chilling detachment in his demeanor, and the unsettling aura of darkness that surrounded him all served as damning testimonies to the horrors he had unleashed. As law enforcement closed in on the chilling truth, Dahmer's carefully constructed facade crumbled, exposing the monster that lurked within. By the summer of 1991, Milwaukee was a city forever scarred by the heinous acts of a seemingly ordinary man named Jeffrey Dahmer. The discovery of Dahmer's crimes was a chilling sequence of events that began to unravel with a stroke of luck on July 22nd. It was a hot, oppressive day when two police officers, Joseph P. Gabrish and John Balsazak, noticed a dazed and handcuffed young man, Conarec Synthesomphone, on the street corner of North 25th Street in Milwaukee. Synthesomphone was 14 years old, of Laotian descent, and spoke little English. His appearance was disoriented and distressed, leading the officers to question the man beside him. Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer exuded an air of calm, explaining to the officers that Synthesomphone was his 19-year-old boyfriend, and that they had gotten into an argument while drinking. Dahmer was convincing, with an air of normalcy that masked his monstrous deeds. The officers, without verifying Synthesomphone's age or identity, returned him to Dahmer's apartment at 924 North 25th Street under the guise of a simple lover's quarrel. Little did they know the horror that awaited young Conarec inside those walls. Unbeknownst to the officers, Dahmer was a predator, a serial killer who had already claimed multiple victims in that very apartment. The scene inside was a glimpse into a nightmare. Unbeknownst to the officers, Dahmer's apartment held the stench of death, with the remnants of his earlier crimes carefully hidden. Had they been more vigilant, perhaps the discovery of Dahmer's atrocities would have been hastened. Synthesomphone would later become one of Dahmer's victims, adding to the growing list of lives lost to his depravity. As fate would have it, the true extent of Dahmer's darkness was not revealed on that fateful day in July. The officers, unknowingly deceived by Dahmer's facade, left the scene without further investigation. It was a missed opportunity that would haunt the Milwaukee Police Department in the days to come. However, the unraveling of Dahmer's crimes was inevitable. The lingering scent of death, the trail of missing persons, and the mounting suspicions would soon converge to expose the truth behind the facade of Jeffrey Dahmer. The discovery of Dahmer's apartment, a macabre chamber of horrors, became the focal point of a city gripped by fear and disbelief. The initial investigation, marred by oversight and misjudgment, laid the foundation for the long road ahead in bringing Dahmer to justice. The scene at 924 North 25th Street, though overlooked at first, held the key to unlocking the darkest chapter in Milwaukee's history. The journey to unmask the true extent of Dahmer's crimes had only just begun. As the news of Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes began to unravel, the media descended upon Milwaukee like a swarm of locusts, hungry for every chilling detail to feed the insatiable public appetite for true crime. Newspapers splashed horrifying headlines across their front pages. Radio stations buzzed with updates, and television screens flickered with the face of a monster in human form. The infamous apartment 213 at the Oxford Apartments on North 25th Street became the focal point of the media frenzy. Reporters camped outside the building, capturing every movement, every whisper that emanated from the place where unspeakable atrocities had occurred. The modest facade of the apartment complex now bore the weight of a nation's morbid curiosity. As the details of Dahmer's depravity emerged, the public was gripped by a mixture of horror and fascination. How could such evil reside in the heart of an ordinary neighborhood, walking among unsuspecting neighbors? The ghastly discoveries made inside apartment 213 painted a picture of a man consumed by his darkest desires, preying on vulnerable young men with chilling precision. Press conferences held by law enforcement officials became a somber ritual, offering morsels of information to a hungry audience eager to understand the incomprehensible. The faces of investigators grim with the weight of what they had uncovered, trying to make sense of the senseless. Community response was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and fear. Suddenly, the familiar streets of Milwaukee felt like a hunting ground where a predator had roamed unchecked for years. Neighbors peered at each other with newfound suspicion, wondering what secrets lay behind closed doors. As the media coverage intensified, survivors of Dahmer's twisted fantasies came forward, sharing their harrowing accounts of narrowly escaping the clutches of a man who saw them not as human beings, but as objects to satisfy his gruesome fantasies. Their testimonies added a chilling layer of reality to the nightmare that had unfolded in the heart of the city. The press dissected every aspect of Dahmer's life, from his troubled childhood to his descent into darkness. Speculation ran rampant as psychologists and criminologists attempted to unravel the mind of a killer, searching for clues in his past that could explain the unfathomable present. In the court of public opinion, Dahmer was already condemned, a monster among men whose name would forever be synonymous with unspeakable evil. The media circus that surrounded his trial only cemented his place in the annals of true crime history. A cautionary tale of the depths to which human depravity could sink. The Jeffrey Dahmer case captured the attention of the nation like a train wreck, horrifying yet impossible to look away from. It laid bare the fragility of our sense of security, reminding us that evil could lurk in the most unexpected of places, wearing the mask of an ordinary man until the moment it was stripped away to reveal the darkness within. The unfolding horror of Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes sent shockwaves through the city of Milwaukee, leaving a trail of unspeakable atrocities in its wake. As the number of missing persons grew, so did the urgency to unravel the mystery lurking behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary man. The police investigation into Dahmer's heinous acts was a complex web of forensic analysis, witness interviews, and relentless pursuit of justice. As the first clues began to surface, detectives found themselves plunged into a dark abyss of depravity unlike anything they had ever encountered. Key to the investigation were the meticulous forensic methods employed by the authorities. The discovery of human remains at Dahmer's residence in 1991 was a pivotal moment. The painstaking process of collecting evidence, from bone fragments to photographs documenting the gruesome scenes, played a crucial role in piecing together the extent of Dahmer's crimes. Forensic analysts scrutinized every detail, employing cutting-edge technology to match the remains to missing persons and identify the manner of death. The sordid reality of Dahmer's actions gradually came to light through the careful examination of each piece of evidence, painting a chilling portrait of a killer hidden in plain sight. Witness interviews also proved instrumental in shedding light on Dahmer's dark secrets. As detectives delved into his past, speaking with acquaintances, neighbors, and potential witnesses, a pattern of disturbing behavior began to emerge. Accounts of strange smells, odd noises, and suspicious activities at Dahmer's residence added layers to the investigation, revealing a man harboring unspeakable deeds behind closed doors. The breakthrough in the case came when one of Dahmer's intended victims managed to escape, leading the police to apprehend the killer. The survivor's harrowing account of his encounter with Dahmer provided a chilling insight into the killer's modus operandi, giving detectives a crucial piece of the puzzle to work with. Detectives involved in the case faced immense challenges as they navigated the complexities of a serial killer's mind. The psychological toll of delving into the darkest recesses of human nature weighed heavily on those tasked with solving the case. The sheer brutality of Dahmer's acts left scars that would never fully heal. A reminder of the evil that lurks within even the most unassuming individuals. Despite the obstacles, the unwavering determination of law enforcement prevailed. Through their relentless pursuit of the truth, detectives were able to connect the dots, revealing the full extent of Dahmer's monstrous deeds. The investigation culminated in the harrowing realization that behind the facade of a mild-mannered neighbor lurked a predator capable of unspeakable cruelty. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, the true horror of Dahmer's crimes was laid bare for the world to see. The police investigation, marked by meticulous attention to detail, relentless pursuit of leads, an unwavering dedication to justice, stands as a testament to the tireless efforts of those who sought to bring a killer to justice. As the chilling truth about Jeffrey Dahmer's monstrous deeds began to unravel, the city of Milwaukee plunged into a state of collective horror and disbelief. The Milwaukee Police Department found themselves in a race against time to stop a killer who had evaded capture for far too long. With a growing list of missing young men and a series of unsolved murders haunting the city, detectives intensified their efforts to crack the case. Key breakthroughs emerged from meticulous forensic work, drawing connections between the gruesome evidence found in Dahmer's apartment and the disappearances that had baffled investigators for years. Surveillance details revealed a pattern of the behavior that led authorities closer to the heart of darkness residing within Dahmer's home. Undercover operations were set in motion, painting a picture of a man leading a double life, a facade of normalcy, masking unspeakable depravity. The tension within the police force was palpable as they closed in on the killer, knowing that one misstep could mean more lives lost. Each near miss served to heighten the urgency of the manhunt, pushing the detectives to their limits as they navigated the murky waters of a case unlike any other. One of the critical turning points in the investigation came when an eyewitness came forward, identifying Dahmer as the man last seen with one of the missing victims. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community and reinforced the need for swift and decisive action. The pressure mounted as the police prepared to make their move, knowing that they needed to act swiftly before more lives were claimed by the insatiable darkness lurking within Dahmer. The final pieces of the puzzle fell into place, leading to the moment when the killer was finally unmasked in all his twisted glory. As the manhunt reached its crescendo, the city held its breath, waiting for the resolution they so desperately sought. In the shadows of Milwaukee, a monster had roamed free for far too long, but now the long arm of the law was poised to deliver justice to those who had fallen victim to Jeffrey Dahmer's unfathomable cruelty. Through the relentless pursuit of truth and justice, the police closed in on the killer, unraveling the web of lies and deception that had shielded Dahmer from the consequences of his heinous actions. The manhunt had been a harrowing journey through the darkest recesses of the human soul, but now, as the net closed around Dahmer, a sense of closure began to descend upon the once terrified city. In the heart of the storm, amidst the chaos and despair, the light of justice shone bright, illuminating the path to retribution for the innocent souls lost at the hands of one of history's most notorious serial killers. The manhunt was over, but the scars it left behind would forever serve as a haunting reminder of the evil that lurks in the most unexpected of places. The moment of reckoning had arrived in the Jeffrey Dahmer case. After years of terror and tragedy, justice was finally catching up to evil. It was July 22nd, 1991, when the notorious serial killer was confronted in his lair of horrors. The capture of Dahmer unfolded at his apartment on 924 North 25th Street in Milwaukee. The arrest team, led by Detective Patrick Kennedy, consisted of experienced officers who knew they were dealing with a dangerous and unpredictable predator. As they knocked on Dahmer's door, a sense of tension hung heavy in the air. The killer, initially calm, soon realized the gravity of the situation. His demeanor shifted, a subtle sign of the storm brewing within him. Upon identifying himself, Detective Kennedy informed Dahmer of the pending charges. The killer's eyes betrayed a flicker of desperation, a last-ditch effort to cling to the facade of control he had meticulously crafted. However, as the officers moved in to apprehend him, Dahmer's mask of composure shattered. In a moment of raw panic, he lunged forward, attempting to resist arrest. The arrest team, well prepared for such a scenario, swiftly subdued him. The struggle was brief but intense, a physical manifestation of the evil that had gripped Dahmer's soul for so long. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of activity. The apartment, a chamber of horrors, was secured as a crime scene. The arrest team meticulously collected evidence, knowing that every detail could be crucial in unraveling the extent of Dahmer's crimes. Transporting Dahmer to jail was a somber affair. The once feared killer now sat in the back of a police car. His facade of invincibility shattered. The journey to the Milwaukee County Jail was marked by an eerie silence, a stark contrast to the screams that had once echoed within Dahmer's apartment. Arriving at the jail, Dahmer was processed with a sense of finality. The man who had eluded justice for so long was now a prisoner of his own making. As his personal effects were catalogued, each item held a chilling significance, a glimpse into the mind of a monster. In the stark confines of his cell, Dharma's facade crumbled completely. The mask of indifference he had worn for so long gave way to a flood of emotions: fear, regret, and perhaps a glimmer of remorse. The once all-powerful killer was now just a man, stripped of his illusions and facing the consequences of his unspeakable actions. The capture and arrest of Jeffrey Dahmer marked the end of a dark chapter in American history. The story of his crimes would forever haunt the memories of those who had crossed his path. But for the families of his victims, it was a moment of closure, a small measure of justice in the face of unimaginable tragedy. As the investigation into the heinous crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer unfolded, a pivotal moment emerged when the killer, known for his chilling acts of depravity, decided to unburden himself of the darkest, most macabre secrets that had haunted Milwaukee. It was during an interrogation on July 22, 1991, at the 25th Street apartment where Dahmer resided, that the floodgates of his malevolence burst open, revealing a narrative so twisted and grotesque that the investigators were left reeling in disbelief. In a surreal atmosphere, tainted by the stench of death and decay, Dahmer, seemingly unperturbed, began to recount the gruesome details of his crimes. The words that spilled from his lips painted a portrait of a man consumed by an insatiable urge to kill, dismember, and defile. With an eerie calmness, Dahmer confessed to the murders of 17 young men, detailing how he lured them to his lair with promises of money or alcohol, only to subject them to unspeakable horrors. His demeanor during the confession was chillingly detached, devoid of remorse or empathy. As he described the abominable acts he had committed, there was a sense of detachment, as though he was narrating events from a distant past, devoid of emotional attachment. It was as if the true extent of his monstrosity had numbed his capacity for human emotion, rendering him a cold, calculating predator. As the investigators listened in horror, Dahmer's words etched themselves into the annals of true crime history. The specifics of his crimes were laid bare. The dismemberment of bodies, the preservation of body parts as grotesque trophies, and the unspeakable acts of necrophilia that defied all comprehension. The language he used to describe his atrocities was clinical, almost matter-of-fact, as though he was recounting a series of banal events rather than the unspeakable horrors he had inflicted on his victims. Amidst the recounting of his crimes, there were moments of eerie lucidity where Dahmer displayed a twisted sense of pride in his handiwork. The revelation of his darkest desires and impulses seemed to elicit a perverse satisfaction, a morbid sense of accomplishment that sent shivers down the spines of all present. As the confession unfolded, the investigators grappled with the enormity of what they were hearing. The sheer brutality and inhumanity of Dahmer's actions left them stunned, struggling to come to terms with the reality of the evil that had lurked in their midst. Yet, they approached the confession with a steely resolve, determined to extract every detail, every shred of information that could shed light on the extent of Dahmer's depravity. In the wake of Dahmer's chilling confession, new facets of his twisted psyche were unveiled, painting a portrait of a man driven by dark impulses and a profound sense of detachment from humanity. The investigators, faced with the enormity of his crimes, embarked on a journey into the darkest recesses of the human soul, piecing together a puzzle of horror and madness that defied all rational explanation. As the interrogation continued, A sense of disbelief hung in the air. How could one man commit such unspeakable acts of depravity? How could he harbor such darkness within him, hidden behind a mask of normalcy and charm? The answers to these questions, buried within the confession of Jeffrey Dahmer, offered a glimpse into the abyss of evil that lurks within us all, waiting to be unleashed with terrifying consequences. As Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes came to light, the stage was set for a trial that would captivate the nation. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as the proceedings began, each moment fraught with tension and drama. The prosecution presented a chilling case against Dahmer, detailing his gruesome acts of murder, dismemberment, and necrophilia. Key testimonies from survivors painted a vivid picture of Dahmer's depravity, recounting the horrors they endured at his hands. The evidence shown in court, including photographs of Dahmer's apartment filled with human remains, sent shivers down the spines of all present. The defense, led by Gerald Boyle, attempted to paint Dahmer as a man driven by uncontrollable urges, a victim of his own twisted desires. They argued that Dahmer was not guilty by reason of insanity, citing his troubled childhood and struggles with his sexuality as mitigating factors. Dahmer himself remained eerily composed throughout the trial, his demeanor cold and detached. He showed little emotion as the graphic details of his crimes were laid bare for all to hear. His stoic facade only served to deepen the sense of unease in the courtroom, as spectators grappled with the realization of the true extent of his monstrous acts. As the trial progressed, there were moments of high drama. One such moment came when Tracy Edwards, a man who had narrowly escaped Dahmer's clutches, bravely took the stand to recount his harrowing experience. His testimony provided a crucial piece of the puzzle, shedding light on Dahmer's methods and motivations. The judge presiding over the case, Judge Lawrence Graham, maintained strict control over the proceedings, ensuring that justice was served with unwavering impartiality. The jury, tasked with weighing the evidence and reaching a verdict, listened intently to every word spoken in the courtroom, their faces etched with a mix of horror and disbelief. As the trial neared its conclusion, both the prosecution and defense made their closing arguments, each side pleading their case with fervor and conviction. The fate of Jeffrey Dahmer hung in the balance, the weight of his crimes casting a dark shadow over the entire courtroom. In the end, after weeks of gripping testimony and legal deliberation, the trial came to a close. The jury retired to deliberate, their decision signaling the end of a chapter in one of the most notorious criminal cases in American history. The courtroom fell silent as they returned with their verdict, the culmination of months of legal proceedings and emotional turmoil. The trial of Jeffrey Dahmer was a harrowing journey into the depths of human depravity, a stark reminder of the capacity for evil that lurks within us all. The scars left by his crimes would never fully heal, haunting the memories of all those who bore witness to the horrors that unfolded in that fateful courtroom. The courtroom held its collective breath as the jury foreperson stood to deliver the verdict in the case against Jeffrey Dahmer. After weeks of harrowing testimony and gut-wrenching evidence, the moment of truth had arrived. The foreperson's voice quivered slightly as they pronounced Dahmer guilty on all counts. Guilty of the unthinkable acts that had shaken the very foundations of Milwaukee and horrified the world. Dahmer's reaction was chillingly subdued. His icy facade barely flickered as the weight of the guilty verdict settled upon him. The families of the victims, seated in the courtroom, clung to each other for support, their faces etched with pain and a glimmer of relief that justice at last was being served. As the trial moved into the sentencing phase, the prosecution painted a vivid picture of the unimaginable horrors that Dahmer had inflicted upon his victims. They presented impact statements from the loved ones left behind, each word a testament to the enduring grief and shattered lives that Dahmer had callously left in his wake. The judge, visibly moved by the emotional testimonies, began the solemn task of determining Dahmer's fate. The gravity of the crimes weighed heavily in the air as he handed down the sentence. 15 consecutive life terms in prison, ensuring that Dahmer would never walk free again. Dahmer's demeanor remained eerily calm as the finality of his punishment sank in. The courtroom erupted into a mix of emotions. Tears of closure from the families, a sense of justice prevailing for the prosecution, and a chapter closed for the police who had tirelessly pursued Dahmer, unearthing the depths of his depravity. Despite the guilty verdict and sentencing, Dahmer's twisted saga did not end there. In the aftermath of the trial, he filed appeals, grasping at any lingering hope of freedom. The legal battle waged on, each appeal a painful reminder to the families of the victims, reopening wounds that may never truly heal. But justice, though often slow, is inexorable. The appeals were denied, and Dahmer's fate was sealed. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, a prisoner of his own monstrous actions. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that a predator like Dahmer would never again walk among the innocent. In the end, Dahmer's immediate response to his fate was stoic defiance, a last echo of the twisted arrogance that had fueled his heinous acts. But as the doors of his cell closed behind him, the facade crumbled, revealing a man haunted by the horrors he had wrought. The Jeffrey Dahmer case stands as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. It is a testament to the tireless pursuit of justice, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of those whose lives were tragically cut short by one man's unspeakable deeds. Join us next time as we delve into the aftermath of Dahmer's conviction, the impact on the community, and the enduring quest for healing and closure in the wake of unimaginable tragedy. As the investigation into Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes continued, the unraveling of the extent of his atrocities sent shockwaves through the nation. A chilling tapestry of horror was unveiled, exposing the true magnitude of his depravity. Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was responsible for a spree of murders that spanned from 1978 to 1991, revealing a dark and twisted criminal career. The total number of victims linked to Dahmer's reign of terror was staggering. His victims, whose lives were brutally cut short, included Stephen Hicks, a hitchhiker he murdered in 1978, Stephen Twomey, a young man killed in 1987, Jamie Dockstader and Richard Guerrero, both slain in 1988, Anthony Sears, killed in 1990, and Raymond Smith and Edward Smith, murdered in 1990 as well. These are just a few of the names of the innocent souls who fell victim to Dahmer's insatiable bloodlust. Apart from the murders he was convicted of, Dahmer also confessed to additional crimes following his capture. He admitted to dismembering his victims' bodies, engaging in necrophilia, and even cannibalism. The sheer brutality and inhumanity of his actions left investigators stunned. The macabre details he provided painted a horrifying picture of a man consumed by darkness. Verifying Dharma's confessions was a harrowing task for law enforcement. Evidence found at his apartment corroborated his gruesome accounts. Human remains, including body parts preserved as trophies, were discovered, solidifying his chilling admissions. The full extent of his crimes slowly came to light as investigators meticulously pieced together the horrors that unfolded within the walls of Dharma's abode. Dharma's criminal career was marked by a pattern of escalating violence and sadism. His insidious acts of luring, murdering, and desecrating his victims showcased a disturbed individual capable of unspeakable acts. The unsolved crimes that plagued Milwaukee before his capture cast a shadow of fear over the community, with residents living in dread of the unknown predator lurking in their midst. The impact of discovering the full scope of Dharma's crimes was profound. It exposed not only the darkness that resided within one man, but also the failings of a system that allowed his atrocities to go unchecked for so long. Families of the victims were left to grapple with the unbearable truth of what had befallen their loved ones, forever scarred by the senseless brutality inflicted upon them. In the annals of true crime history, the Jeffrey Dahmer case stands as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. His heinous acts reverberate through time, serving as a reminder of the monsters that walk among us, hidden behind masks of normalcy. The saga of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee cannibal, serves as a chilling cautionary tale of the horrors that can be unleashed when darkness takes hold of a soul. As Jeffrey Dahmer's dark journey unfolded over the years, his methods and patterns as a killer evolved with a terrifying sophistication. His victim selection process was meticulous, often targeting vulnerable young men who he believed wouldn't be missed. The patterns that emerged were chilling, showcasing a killer who operated under the radar for far too long. Dahmer's approach to his victims was deceptively charming. He lured them in with promises of money or alcohol, exploiting their trust before leading them to his lair of horrors. Once inside his apartment, his true intentions were revealed. He drugged his victims, rendering them helpless before carrying out his heinous acts. One of the unique aspects of Dahmer's crimes was his disturbing fascination with his victims' bodies. He engaged in necrophilia and even attempted to create living zombies by drilling into his victims' skulls and injecting acid or boiling water into their brains. This macabre experimentation highlighted the depths of his depravity. To avoid detection, Dahmer utilized various methods. He often dismembered his victims, making disposal easier and spreading the remains across multiple locations. He also attempted to bleach the bones of his victims to destroy any evidence of his crimes. His ability to blend in with his surroundings, appearing as a normal, unassuming member of society, allowed him to evade suspicion for an extended period. However, Dahmer's meticulous planning couldn't shield him from the law forever. His eventual downfall came in July 1991, when police responded to a call of a distressed man, Tracy Edwards, who had managed to escape from Dahmer's clutches. Edwards led the officers to Dahmer's apartment, unknowingly unraveling the horrors within. Upon entering Dahmer's residence, the officers discovered a scene straight from a nightmare. Barrels containing decomposing body parts, photographs of dismembered bodies, and evidence of unspeakable acts littered the apartment. Dahmer's carefully constructed facade crumbled in the face of overwhelming evidence. The psychological insights into Dahmer's criminal development painted a picture of a deeply disturbed individual with a compulsion he couldn't control. His evolution as a killer showcased a gradual escalation in violence and depravity, culminating in a series of unspeakable acts that shook the nation to its core. The real Jeffrey Dahmer case stands as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary individuals. The patterns and methods he employed reveal a meticulous killer who operated in the shadows, preying on the unsuspecting with a cold and calculated brutality. His capture brought an end to a reign of terror that had plagued Milwaukee for far too long. But the scars left by his heinous crimes would never fully heal. As we delve deeper into the darkness of the Jeffrey Dahmer case, the psychological profile of this notorious killer emerges as a chilling mosaic of depravity and torment. Criminal profilers noted that Dahmer's criminal psychology showed a complex interplay of deep-seated psychological issues, deviant fantasies, and a gradual evolution towards increasingly heinous acts that culminated in unfathomable atrocities. From a young age, Dahmer displayed troubling behavior indicative of underlying psychological disturbances. His fixation on dissecting animals, a common trait seen in many serial killers, hinted at a fascination with control and power over living beings. This early behavior, combined with a fractured family dynamic and a sense of isolation, laid the foundation for the twisted path Dahmer would eventually walk. The psychological profile revealed a man grappling with profound feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and a distorted sense of identity. Dahmer's inner world was plagued by intense desires for dominance and possession, which manifested in his heinous acts of violence. His fantasies, which revolved around complete control and possession of his victims, point to a deep-seated need to assert power in a world where he felt powerless and inadequate. As Dahmer's crimes escalated in brutality, so too did the complexity of his psychological makeup. His ability to compartmentalize his actions, appearing normal to the outside world while harboring unspeakable urges, speaks to a sophisticated level of psychopathic detachment. This disconnect between his outward persona and his inner world of darkness allowed him to evade suspicion for an extended period, showcasing the intricate web of deception woven by his fractured psyche. The evolution of Dahmer's criminal behavior paints a harrowing picture of a man consumed by his darkest impulses. His need for complete control over his victims, coupled with his desire for a sense of connection and belonging, created a paradoxical duality within him. The very acts that brought him a twisted sense of satisfaction also served as a temporary salve for his profound feelings of isolation and self-loathing. In the final years leading up to his capture, Dahmer's psychological state deteriorated rapidly. His escalating substance abuse, coupled with an insatiable thirst for violence, pushed him to the brink of madness. The facade of normalcy he had carefully crafted began to crumble, revealing the true extent of his depravity to the world. To understand the depths of Dahmer's psyche is to confront the darkest corners of human nature. His case serves as a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that lies dormant within some individuals, waiting to be unleashed under the right circumstances. The psychological autopsy of Jeffrey Dahmer reveals a fractured soul, tormented by inner demons and driven by impulses beyond comprehension. As we continue our journey through the labyrinth of Jeffrey Dahmer's mind, we will explore the intricate interplay of nature and nurture that shaped this infamous killer. Join us as we unravel the twisted threads of his psyche and attempt to make sense of the incomprehensible. As the trial of Jeffrey Dahmer came to a close, the legal proceedings marked the beginning of a harrowing chapter for the families of Dahmer's victims. The emotional turmoil they faced was immeasurable, the wounds inflicted by Dahmer's heinous acts cutting deep and leaving scars that would never fully heal. For Lionel and Sherry Smith, the parents of Eddie Smith, one of Dahmer's victims, the news of their son's fate was a devastating blow. Their cherished son, full of life and promise, had fallen prey to the depravity of Dahmer. The Smiths struggled to come to terms with the brutal reality of Eddie's murder, grappling with overwhelming grief and disbelief. Across town, the family of Stephen Hicks, Dahmer's first victim, mourned the loss of their beloved son and brother. The pain of Stephen's absence weighed heavily on them, a constant ache in their hearts. Each day seemed to bring a fresh wave of anguish, a reminder of the precious life taken so cruelly and senselessly. As the media frenzy surrounding Dahmer's case began to subside, the families of his victims were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. They found solace in each other, bonding over shared experiences of loss and suffering. Support groups and therapy sessions offered a lifeline, a safe space to express their pain and sorrow without judgment. But the road to healing was long and arduous. The spectre of Dahmer's crimes loomed large, casting a dark shadow over the families. Nightmares haunted their sleep, memories of their loved ones twisted and tainted by the knowledge of how they met their tragic end. For the families of the victims, the emotional toll of Dahmer's atrocities was immeasurable. Their lives had been irrevocably altered, the pain of their loss a constant companion. Yet, in the midst of their grief, they found strength in each other, a shared determination to honor the memories of those they had lost. In the years that followed Dahmer's trial, the families of his victims sought solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. But closure remained elusive, a distant dream just out of reach. The wounds inflicted by Dahmer's crimes would never fully heal, his legacy of terror casting a long shadow over their lives. As they navigated the treacherous waters of grief and loss, the families of Dahmer's victims clung to each other, bound by a shared tragedy that had forever altered the course of their lives. In the darkness of their despair, they found a glimmer of hope, a flicker of light shining through the cracks of their shattered hearts. And so, they carried on, each day a struggle to make sense of the senseless, to find meaning in the midst of chaos. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but they walked it together, united in their grief, their love for those they had lost burning bright in their hearts. For the families of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims, the scars of his crimes would never fade. But in their shared sorrow, they found a measure of peace, a bond forged in tragedy that would endure long after the echoes of Dahmer's madness had faded into silence. As news of Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes sent shockwaves through the city of Milwaukee, residents were left grappling with the terrifying reality that a serial killer had been living among them for years. The arrest of Dahmer in July 1991 marked the end of a reign of terror that had claimed the lives of at least 17 young men and boys. The revelation of the gruesome details of his crimes left the community in a state of collective disbelief and horror. Law enforcement agencies were forced to re-evaluate their procedures in response to the unprecedented nature of Dahmer's crimes. The case highlighted the importance of improved communication and information sharing between different jurisdictions. Interagency task forces were established to enhance coordination in investigating cases involving missing persons and suspected serial killers. Additionally, a review of the handling of missing persons reports was conducted to ensure that potential leads were not overlooked in the future. New safety protocols were swiftly implemented in the wake of Dahmer's arrest. Community outreach programs were launched to educate the public on personal safety, especially targeting vulnerable populations such as young people and individuals struggling with addiction. Neighborhood watch groups experienced a resurgence as concerned citizens banded together to keep a vigilant eye on their surroundings. Parents became more vigilant about their children's whereabouts, implementing stricter curfews and monitoring their social circles more closely. The community response to Dahmer's crimes was marked by fear and disbelief. Residents spoke of feeling a deep sense of unease, questioning how such atrocities could have gone unnoticed for so long. Community meetings were held to address concerns and provide support to those grappling with the psychological impact of the case. Mental health resources were made more readily available to help individuals cope with the trauma of learning that their community had been the hunting ground of a prolific serial killer. The true crime media frenzy that surrounded Dahmer's case brought the issue of serial killers into the public consciousness in a way that had never been seen before. Books, documentaries, and films scrutinized every detail of Dahmer's life and crimes, sparking a morbid fascination with the inner workings of a killer's mind. This increased exposure led to a greater awareness of the warning signs of psychopathic behavior and the importance of reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. The impact of the Dahmer case reverberated far beyond the borders of Milwaukee. Law enforcement agencies across the country took note of the lessons learned from the investigation and incorporated them into their own practices. The case served as a grim reminder of the importance of thorough investigative techniques and proactive community engagement in combating violent crime. In the years following Dahmer's arrest, the communities where his crimes occurred underwent a process of healing and reflection. Memorials and tributes were established to honor the memories of the victims and provide a space for collective mourning. Efforts were made to revitalize the affected neighborhoods, transforming them into places of resilience and solidarity in the face of tragedy. As time passed, the immediate fear and shock that gripped the community began to ebb, replaced by a commitment to ensuring that such horrors would never be repeated. The Jeffrey Dahmer case had left an indelible mark on the city of Milwaukee and beyond, serving as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary of places. As we delve into the intricate web of Jeffrey Dahmer's psyche, we uncover a labyrinth of psychological turmoil that propelled him down a path of unspeakable darkness. Dahmer's journey into infamy was not just a series of heinous acts, but a manifestation of deep-rooted psychological disorders that tainted his every thought and action. From a young age, Dahmer exhibited troubling behaviors that hinted at the turmoil within. His isolation and detachment from his peers were early signs of the profound social and emotional challenges he faced. Growing up in a turbulent household marked by his parents' tumultuous relationship and his own internal struggles with his sexuality, Dahmer's psyche bore the scars of childhood trauma that festered over the years. Psychologists have identified Dahmer as suffering from a complex interplay of disorders, including borderline personality disorder schizotypal personality disorder, and a burgeoning sadistic streak that found expression in his gruesome fantasies. His insatiable desires for control and dominance over others, coupled with his profound loneliness and lack of genuine human connection, created a volatile mix within his mind. As Dharma's mental illness took root and flourished, his fantasies evolved into a twisted narrative of power and possession. The lure of complete control over another human being became an obsession that consumed him, driving him to commit acts of unimaginable horror. His victims were not just objects of desire, but pawns in a sick game of manipulation and domination that fed his insatiable appetite for control. Dharma's descent into madness was not a sudden plunge, but a gradual erosion of his already fragile grasp on reality. His justifications for his actions grew more elaborate and delusional, weaving a narrative of necessity and inevitability that shielded him from the brutal truth of his crimes. His ability to compartmentalize his actions, to detach himself from the horrors he inflicted, speaks to the profound disconnect from reality that defined his existence. The internal turmoil that Dharma grappled with, the conflicting urges and desires that warred within him, painted a portrait of a man adrift in a sea of darkness. His mind was a fractured landscape of twisted fantasies and morbid curiosities that pushed him further down a path of self-destruction. As his condition deteriorated over time, Dharma's ability to function in society faltered, and his crimes escalated in both frequency and brutality. The thin veneer of normalcy he struggled to maintain crumbled, revealing the monster that lurked beneath. His spiral into madness was not just a personal tragedy, but a cautionary tale of the devastating impact of untreated mental illness. In the end, Dharma's psychological profile serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of the human mind and the dangers that lie within when left unchecked. His story is a chilling exploration of the darkest recesses of the soul, a cautionary tale that forces us to confront the shadows that lurk within us all. As law enforcement delved deeper into the chilling case of Jeffrey Dahmer, they were confronted with a perplexing mosaic of criminal psychology and behavioral patterns that evolved over time, reflecting a sinister metamorphosis within the mind of the killer. Dahmer's methods, initially driven by suppressed impulses and escalating fantasies, underwent a disturbing refinement with each crime, a macabre evolution shaped by learned behaviors and an insatiable urge for control and domination. Selecting victims became a twisted art form for Dahmer, a meticulous process driven by his predatory instincts and a quest for absolute power over his chosen targets. Initially targeting vulnerable individuals, often marginalized or struggling with societal acceptance, he honed his victim selection over time, gravitating towards younger men who exuded a sense of docility and compliance, characteristics that would facilitate his gruesome fantasies. Dahmer's signature behaviors and rituals, steeped in a perverse desire for possession and ownership, manifested in the creation of a meticulously crafted personal trophy collection drawn from his victims. Body parts carefully preserved as keepsakes, a grim testament to his twisted sense of control and dominance over those he had claimed in his deadly embrace. The disposal of evidence and bodies became a chilling routine for Dahmer, a methodical process marked by a disturbing blend of pragmatism and detachment. Chemical solutions, acid baths, and dismemberment were employed with a chilling efficiency, allowing him to eradicate any traces of his heinous acts. while preserving his gruesome souvenirs. Post-crime, Dharma's demeanor oscillated between a chilling calmness and moments of inner turmoil. His emotional landscape, a turbulent terrain of satisfaction, guilt, and a haunting compulsion to repeat his monstrous deeds. The dichotomy of his emotions, veering between remorse and a twisted sense of fulfillment, painted a complex portrait of a killer teetering on the brink of sanity. The trophies he kept, a ghoulish collection of anatomical remnants carefully preserved, served as a tangible link to his victims, a morbid homage to the lives he had extinguished and the power he had wielded over them. Each trophy, a grim testament to his warped sense of possession and control, a physical manifestation of his depravity and detachment from humanity. Dharma's ability to evade detection, a chilling testament to his cunning and calculated risk-taking behavior, showcased a killer adept at navigating the shadows of society, concealing his monstrous proclivities behind a facade of normalcy. His methodical approach to evading suspicion, coupled with a chilling ability to blend in seamlessly with his surroundings, rendered him a phantom in plain sight. A predator camouflaged within the fabric of everyday life. As law enforcement pieced together the intricate web of Dharma's crimes, they were confronted with a chilling realization of the depths of human depravity and the insidious nature of evil lurking beneath a veneer of normalcy. The mind of a killer, a labyrinth of darkness and twisted desires, laid bare for all to witness. A stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the horrors that can lurk within. As news of Jeffrey Dahmer's heinous crimes began to surface, the media descended upon the case with voracious appetite. Headlines across the nation splashed details of the gruesome discoveries in Dahmer's apartment, sparking a wave of shock and horror throughout the public. The Milwaukee Sentinel ran bold front-page headlines such as "House of Horrors Unveiled" and "Gruesome Discovery in Quiet Neighborhood," drawing readers into the chilling narrative unfolding in their midst. Radio waves buzzed with updates on the case, with reporters delving into the darkest corners of Dahmer's past and the chilling extent of his crimes. The once quiet neighborhood where Dahmer resided now found itself at the center of a media storm, with reporters and journalists flocking to the scene to capture the sense of disbelief and fear gripping the community. As the story spread like wildfire, neighbors whispered to each other in hushed tones, their daily lives overshadowed by the specter of a serial killer living among them. The air crackled with a mixture of fear and fascination, as people grappled with the incomprehensible reality of a man who had committed unspeakable atrocities right under their noses. Newspapers across the country dedicated pages to dissecting the chilling details of Dahmer's crimes, analyzing his disturbed psyche, and delving into the failures of law enforcement that allowed his murderous spree to continue unchecked for so long. Sensationalized accounts of Dahmer's twisted desires and cannibalistic tendencies fueled public outrage and captivated audiences hungry for every sordid detail. The media frenzy surrounding the Dahmer case had a profound impact on the investigation, with intense scrutiny and public pressure forcing law enforcement to re-examine their handling of the case. Missteps and oversights were brought to light, prompting calls for accountability and justice for the victims who had fallen prey to Dahmer's insatiable thirst for blood. As the trial loomed on the horizon, the media's insatiable appetite for sensationalism threatened to overshadow the gravity of the crimes committed. Talk shows and tabloids eagerly dissected every aspect of Dahmer's life, turning a monster into a macabre celebrity whose face adorned magazine covers and dominated primetime news. The public oscillated between morbid curiosity and abject terror, grappling with the realization that someone like Dahmer could exist in their midst. Daily routines were punctuated by discussions of the case, with friends and neighbors sharing theories and speculating on the depths of Dahmer's depravity. In the wake of the Dahmer case, a pall of fear hung over communities across the country, with parents keeping a closer eye on their children and strangers viewed with newfound suspicion. The media had succeeded in shining a spotlight on the darkest recesses of human nature, forcing society to confront the uncomfortable truth that evil could lurk just around the corner. As the trial unfolded, the media's relentless coverage continued to shape public perception of Dahmer and the heinous crimes he had committed. Sensational headlines and grisly details dominated the news cycle, ensuring that the horrors of Dahmer's reign of terror would be seared into the collective memory for years to come. The public's fascination with the case would endure long after the final verdict was handed down, a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that lurks within us all. As we delve into the lasting legacy and lessons learned from the Jeffrey Dahmer case, 1978 to 1991, it becomes evident how this chilling chapter in true crime history has left an indelible mark on criminal investigation techniques, forensic methods, mental health awareness, societal perceptions of mental illness, true crime literature and media, criminology studies, memorials, and the prevention of similar atrocities. The case of Jeffrey Dahmer forced law enforcement to evolve their approach to investigations profoundly. His actions exposed gaps in communication between different police departments, leading to improved collaboration and information-sharing protocols. Moreover, the case highlighted the critical need for more thorough background checks and follow-ups, prompting the implementation of stricter procedures in missing persons cases. Forensic science advanced significantly as a result of the Dahmer case. Pioneering techniques in DNA analysis and crime scene processing were refined in response to the intricacies of his crimes. The meticulous work of forensic experts during the investigation set new standards for evidence collection and preservation, setting a benchmark for future cases. The Dahmer case also catalyzed a shift in mental health awareness and treatment. Mental health professionals re-evaluated diagnostic criteria for conditions like antisocial personality disorder and psychopathy, aiming to better identify and intervene in cases of severe personality disorders. His case underscored the importance of early intervention and comprehensive mental health care to prevent individuals from escalating to violent behaviors. Society's understanding of mental illness was fundamentally challenged by Dahmer's case. It brought to light the complexities of untreated mental health issues and the potential dangers they pose if left unaddressed. Advocacy for destigmatizing mental illness gained momentum in the aftermath of his crimes, emphasizing the importance of destigmatization and access to mental health resources for all individuals. Jeffrey Dahmer's case significantly influenced the landscape of true crime literature and media. Authors and filmmakers grappled with the ethical dilemmas of portraying such heinous acts, while also acknowledging the public's fascination with understanding the mind of a serial killer. The case prompted discussions on the responsibility of media in depicting violent crimes and the potential impact on public perception and behavior. In criminology studies, The Dahmer case stands as a chilling example of the complexities of criminal behavior and the intricate interplay between nature and nurture in shaping an offender. The case continues to be dissected in academic circles, providing valuable insights into the motivations and modus operandi of serial killers. Memorials and tributes serve as poignant reminders of the lives lost to Dahmer's atrocities. These memorials honor the victims, commemorate their legacies, and offer solace to their families and communities. They stand as testaments to resilience in the face of tragedy and remind society of the importance of remembrance and justice. Today, the Jeffrey Dahmer case is remembered as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the capacity for evil within the human psyche. It serves as a chilling reminder of the importance of vigilance in safeguarding vulnerable individuals, recognizing the signs of mental distress, and intervening early to prevent future tragedies. Lessons learned from the Dahmer case reverberate through time, shaping our understanding of evil and mental illness. They underscore the importance of comprehensive mental health care, early intervention in cases of severe personality disorders, and the critical need for collaboration between law enforcement agencies to prevent similar crimes from occurring. As we continue to grapple with the legacy of the Jeffrey Dahmer case, let us honor the victims, learn from the past, and strive towards a future where such atrocities are prevented through empathy, vigilance, and a commitment to mental health awareness and intervention.